And I do apologize for the old school music. It's the only thing that doesn't flip some copyright script that YouTube wants to sue me over. Now, if you recall during unboxing, I had noted that the body, well, not necessarily rough, it was just beat up a little bit. More along the lines of, let's say, battle wounds from banging around in a box. I am happy to report that most of it cleaned up with just some 600 grit sandpaper. Now, there was one thing that really caught my eye, and that was this right here. I'd like to think whomever was cutting this off the screws at the factory was having a bad day, because that is a full millimeter up into the body. Now, I'll address that a bit later. In the meantime, I'm going to finish up knocking out all these scuff marks and getting the body back in shape. I'm having one of those things, a headache with pictures. What do you call them? An idea. I have an idea. I've always been under the impression that this impact strip really kills the body lines of this truck. So I'm just going to take them off. I'm going to use some of that cheap masking tape as a guide. I'm going to use a very coarse nail file and just sand down to the tape. Once I hit the tape, I'll know that I got about a ½ millimeter of material left. Then I'll remove the tape and just kind of ease into it with the finer grits. Just going to use a little bit of X-Acto just to kind of clean out the panel lines, just to get a rough idea of how much material I'm actually removing. I'm kind of using them as a gauge of sorts. Once they start to get shallow, I know I need to stop removing material and just move on. Now, these panel lines from the factory are fairly deep, so they're a good indicator of how much material I've removed. Once I'm done sanding, I'm just going to rescribe them just to make them all even and deep across the entire door. Sorry if you guys are picking up on all that noise in the background. It has been raining non-stop here in Kansas for like 2 weeks. I'm getting really tired of it. I really miss mowing my yard. I figured with the impact strip going, I might as well remove that little badge, just letting us know this truck has airbags. Now once I think I'm done with the body work, I'm going to just do a quick little mist coat of primer, because primer will bring all of our sins to the surface. Yeah, this is looking pretty good, so I'm going to move on to the bed. And I am just going to show this whole process of where I did with the bed. I'm just going to let the music play out. I'm going to go refill my drink. You guys enjoy just watching how this is done. Now the tailgate on this truck is actually a fairly good design. While not accurate to the truck in any way, here in kit form, just as a toy in general, I really like it. It's got extra pins that hold it closed, and I'm going to use those to my advantage. As this truck is just a static model that just sits on the shelf when I'm done with it, I'm just going to glue the bed closed. And those pins are going to provide just enough material for the glue to hold everything in place. You guys hear that thunder? Gotcha, you bastard. So if you're curious what I'm doing with this little sprue from our last build, the new Platts Audi R8, the tailgate actually does not fit that well, so I'm going to use this piece of flat just to kind of act as a shim, just to hold the tailgate in place, just so I can glue it all in. And that ended up being perfect, exactly the thickness we needed. That went a whole lot smoother than I thought it'd be. Now the hood, on the other hand, it is a bit undersized, but that's okay. I'm going to leave this exactly as it is, because once we build up a few layers of paint and a few layers are clear, this is probably going to be a little bit too tight, and I'm going to have to do a bit of sanding on the edges just so it can close. So I'm just not going to touch that at all. I'm going to leave it as it is. Now the firewall, on the other hand, I'm just going to treat this like a show truck. We've already shaved the body, so might as well shave everything off the firewall as well and make it just as smooth. Bam. Cleaning up this truck is being a lot of work, because now I got to clean up the front bumper as well. Now, these holes, they were drastically undersized. I had to open them up dramatically just to get them to fit on the body. This surface here also needed a bit of attention. It was not flat at all and was sitting crooked on the body. So smoothing that out and opening up the holes a bit was exactly what we needed to make it fit the way it was supposed to fit. And you see me struggling with this. Trust me, once everything falls into place where it needs to go, it fits like a glove. It's just a matter of getting it there. And I finally decided on a color. I'm going to go with black. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of splash paints. However, they don't make just a generic gloss black. So I'm a bit limited to just what I have on hand, and that's basically Tamiya acrylics or Tamiya spray paint. Now while I do love my Tamiya acrylics, painting a body with them, they come out kind of grainy, as you can see on the hood and rear deck lid. So I'm just going to avoid this jar altogether and use a rattle can. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, I'm just periodically hitting the body with some primer just to see where I'm at as far as the bodywork stage goes. So I have not showed me actually priming this truck, because I've probably done it a total of 5 or 6 different times. I got everything smoothed out the way I want it to be, so I think we're finally at this step where we can do our final sanding and getting it ready for paint. So I'm just going to go over it all with some 3000 grit just to give a smooth surface for our paint to lay out flat on. As I mentioned, I smoothed out everything. I did not do a thing to the rear bumper because it also has the step built into it. I'm going to leave that intact and just kind of roll with it. So this is Tamiya's TS14, just rattle can black. Just black. That's it. Black. Now the process is still the same whether we're using an airbrush or a rattle can. We just do everything at first with a light mist coat, then just build it up in layers. All you really want to do here at this step is just apply it light enough so it doesn't look wet. If you see it thick enough to where it's reflecting light, you've applied too much paint. As you can see right there, that's too much. I've also waited about 4 or 5 minutes between each coat. I don't want it to be completely dry, but just tacky enough to kind of grab onto that next layer. And at this point, I've done maybe 2 or 3 mist coats, and I'm ready for just the final coat. And at this point, feel free to lay it on thick, but not so thick that it runs. And get it all just glossy and wet looking, and then stop. Now this stuff dries relatively quickly. About 30 minutes it's completely dry to the touch, and we can start applying our decals. Now, being that it has done nothing but rain in Kansas, our humidity is relatively high, especially in my garage. So I waited till my wife was asleep. I ran into the bathroom, turned on the overhead vent, and I sprayed this with some clear coat. I was trying to be as sneaky as possible, so I didn't drag any recording equipment in with me at all, so you guys didn't get to see that.